real pleasure for me as a longtime fan to be sitting here with Aaron Gray.
Here with Larry Hama.
We're talking with Kevin J. Anderson, best-selling author.
Mr. Neil Adams.
I am here with David Prince.
Axel Alonso, editor.
Shadow Stevens. And Devil's Comic-Con with John Delancey.
With Tom King.
Kevin Conroy.
Free comic book day.
Denise Crosby.
PopCon Pop Expo.
Here on location at Star Wars Celebration.
Sci-Fi Expo, talking for our second time with Gil Gerard.
Wichita, Kansas at Time Eddie.
Producer David Gerald.
I've got Eric Flint.
Are here at Smallville Comic Con.
Wizard World St. Louis.
VillageCon in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Michael Lombardi.
We were talking with Alan Dean.
Quincy Allen.
Suzanne Landon.
Founder of Starlog Magazine, Mr. Kerry Oakway.
Chris Sami.
Len Lee. Dave Schwartz. Mano Incarami. Jason Aaron.
This is Sci-Fi for Me, your portal to the science fiction multiverse.
The Immortal Mask, a 1970s superhero crime noir adventure that follows a retired soldier who is given a covenant interview with a death row inmate. What he learns from the interview thrusts him into Atlanta's shadowy underworld. He'll have to utilize his military training to survive from being hunted for the information that could topple the most powerful ruling class in the city. This is not a pre-order or a crowdfunding campaign. Get your books now at denali's.com.
25 seconds to curtain, folks.
Been the longest Friday of my life because it's Saturday now, but we changed the songs and then we changed the day. We are live with the LCS Guys show. We have with us Cosmic Dave Dyer from Cosmic Comics and Games in Belleville, Illinois. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hello, hello, hello.
Glad to have you here. And Michael Tierney from Little Rock, Arkansas, former proprietor of the Comic Store and Collector's Edition.
Well, now I'm just no longer brick and mortar. I'm a mail order now, so just
you're taking it out of the E.
We're the original LCS guys, the original two.
Yes,
Mike
you are. We can get Yule back.
you,
we can have
RJ.
a family reunion.
Yeah, it has been a minute, definitely a long minute.
It has, and it's been a long time since we brought all you guys together to see how you were going to sell comics during COVID, and turned out we flattened that curve. None of you could.
Right. Yeah.
I adjusted. I pivoted real fast, and that's when I changed my business model from brick and mortar over to online subscriptions and mail orders and eBay sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I got rid of all that overhead. Now my employee wears a postal uniform, and the government takes care of all her benefits. So I got rid of a lot of headaches that way, and all that overhead.
And I'm the dumbass who keeps the overhead, and has a brick and mortar and barely surviving. So
the thing I do miss is all my friends would always come to see me. Problem is, I kept leaving with my stuff, but
yeah. Well, we've got that right now. Everybody's watching in the front room in the movie room, and every Saturday we always have people come over and hang out, and we watch movies, and they're watching us lunkheads right now live. On YouTube.
Yeah.
They're starved for entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, walked into Cosmic Comics just last week and did my part.
And I missed you. I'm sorry. I was at our other shop, so because I thought it was smart to open up an antique store, and so there you have it.
Well, sure. The economy was doing great at one point.
Yeah, and then one weekend the rug just pulled out, and I'm still scratching my head. We're picking up a little bit, but I'm not seeing the numbers that I saw last year at all. So
I saw the same thing with my eBay sales. It's just like people just got scared to spend $1, and then of course you got all these low lives to go cruise and try to find people desperate. Like, hey, I'll give you 25% of your list price for that. Like, don't even talk to them. Just reject.
Well, and it's like the Belleville flea market was going on today, and I heard from one of my friends who also sets up there, and also from another customer who sets up there, and they both said that it was packed, but nobody was buying anything.
Nobody's got any money. Yeah, everybody's broke.
Just don't get it. Then why go out? If you're not going to go out to support your local shops and your local businesses, then don't go in there. I mean, I appreciate you coming in and saying hi, but my goal is to pay the rent and keep the lights on, and
people forget that. I remember, I always had the battle of trying to discourage people from using my store as a library.
Yeah,
and the comment I hated worst was, "Well, how do I know if I want to buy it till after I read it?" I've never saw anybody read a book and then buy it.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get that too. I'll get some school kids to get in, and they'll stand up front, and it'll be like 10 minutes later, and I'm like, "Hey, sorry, this is not a library. You either purchase it or, that kind of thing." And I do have one customer who will come in, he'll pick a bunch of books, he'll read that, like the forward, and then he'll actually buy it.
Yeah.
But
that's different. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, go through it. See if you can spot those guys too. I've had people grab like a 1.5 foot tall stack of books, go over to a chair, set the stack down, get their legs crossed, get comfortable, then start reading. I'm like, look, you don't think you're going to read that old stack of books, do you? Well, why not? This is not a library, pal.
Right.
And there were times when I would discourage people from reading books, be the last copy on the shelf, and somebody like, "Oh, thank God, I was waiting for him to put it down so I could buy it. I was hoping it wasn't going to get too torn up by the time it did."
And those are the ones you just chew them out. Say, move along.
Yeah, there is such a thing as addition through subtraction.
Yeah.
There used to be a time when just reading the cover was enough to say, "I want to read this book," but now they're all just pinups.
Yeah. You look like I always bring them up because I love them to death. You look at an old Jack Kirby, you knew you wanted to buy that Captain America, or
you know what you're going to get with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, or the Bishimas or anything like that, you were like, "Oh, I'm in." So because that cover told you 1,000 things with just that one great cover. Today, they don't tell you anything. The covers.
Well, John, I'm glad you're out there. Yeah, it's I mean, used to be the days of like, Superman, come save us. I can't. Having a sandwich. Why is Superman not caring about things? He's taking care of it. I got to find out what's going on here. Was it red kryptonite? Was there magic spell? But and you know what? It was at least close to what happened in the story. Sometimes they misled you.
Yeah.
But
But today the covers are, every cover I look at, I'm not interested in anything that's going on inside because the cover is not grabbing me the way they used to. And I know, like, I sound like an old guy who's been in the business a while, and I have.
Yeah.
You remember I started back in the 80s. So
I started in 82. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started back when things were still pretty cool, I mean, we were getting in Judge Dredd comics and stuff like that, the magazine, the Dreadazine, and it was fresh and new. And now there's just nothing fresh and new, and the new characters are coming up with are boring. And
the art's as good as it's ever been. I mean, the overall level of artwork is just incredible. I mean, used to we'd always suffer through these guys who are just mediocre artists, but they told the story, and we kind of let them slide the fact that it didn't look too good. But the stories cooked us. They had us interested. It was like a soap opera. You wanted to know what happened next.
Right.
Everything was self-contained. Now they try to tell you these big overarching stories that you have to buy half a dozen issues just to get a complete story.
And no one's interested in it.
Tom King had 100 issues in mind for his Batman run.
Yeah.
That he never finished.
Yeah. And now DC is going to do once again, and it's something Nightmare or whatever.
Night Terrors, yeah.
Night Terrors. and they're going to stop putting everything out, but just that. And it didn't work with Future State, so why are you doing it again?
It didn't work,
especially when they're trying to do Dawn of DC.
Yeah.
I remember when Marvel did that with Age of Apocalypse and X-Men have never recovered from that.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we keep talking about, isn't it, guys? It sounds like a broken record that we keep talking about the fact that these guys, namely DC, who now is owned by Discovery, and Marvel, which of course we know is owned by Disney.
Yeah.
They don't care what the consumer wants. They don't care what we as business owners want. They're not on our side in any shape, way, or form.
It's very
and so they're not listening, and they just do what they want, thinking that they're smarter than the average bear. And sales are down. Sales are down across the board for everybody out there, including DC and Marvel. But they'll tell you otherwise.
Well, I'm going to say something probably a little controversial because everyone's not supposed to rock the boat, but I don't have my stores anymore, so I don't have to worry about being boycotted. But basically, the comic book industry Bud Lighted themselves. If you get what I'm talking about, Bud Light made a big mistake. The people say, I don't want to buy that. Well, that's what Marvel and DC have been doing for years. I used to have so many military guys, police officers, prosecuting attorneys. I mean, all these people who are in charge of taking care of people who lived up to that adage, with great power comes great responsibility. They couldn't connect with comics anymore. They lost their connection. I lost that entire segment. I mean, I used to mail orders all around the world as guys were being stationed in different, military bases all around the world there. And, that's over with. I don't do anything international anymore. I haven't for years now. I mean, they've literally chased all those guys away. And, then they wonder why their sales are shrinking. Well, it's because you've ignored your core customer.
Yeah.
They made that mistake before. I remember back like in the late 80s, early 90s, they were trying to say that every comic book fan is a huge wrestling fan. No, they weren't. But, at least they were halfway right about they were into macho type of entertainment. They weren't into all this social warrior type of stuff. When I closed down, there was another store in town, and they were located. They're about to close down too. And I thought, well, they're set now, but with me gone, they'll get all that overflow from the customers who didn't go mail order with me. And because some people want to actually look at it, and I understand that. But they were right in the heart of what you might call the alternative type of culture that you would appeal to that. And they tried to go for that market. They didn't buy it.
Well, they still are, and no one still isn't buying it. So
that's because that market doesn't care about it as much, and in fact feels pandered to when they use it. They're not in touch with that market.
For one little tiny sliver of the demographic, and they're missing the mark on that even.
Yeah. So, so here's a case in point. I'm having problems with lunar distribution. Gee, go figure. Okay. and right now we haven't had any new DC for, I'm going to say 2 months. And and nobody has been asking for it outside of my pull list customers, which will get, once I get everything worked out with lunar, God willing, we'll get that back in. But I have nobody that comes in off the street and goes, do you have the new Superman? Do you have the new Batman? Yeah. Nobody does that.
They've disconnected from their customer base.
They don't want it. They don't want it.
And that was always the main thing is, this is what you and I did as retailers. We were there to give the customers what they want. We didn't care what the publisher said. You need to sell this. That's not our job to convince people they want something they don't want. Our job was to listen to our customers and feel the needs that they expressed.
Right. And now these days, really in the comic world, it's about how many pull list customers you have, because walk-in traffic, depending where you are, and I'm sure West Coast is different than where I'm at, which is the Midwest.
Yeah, the coast.
And we're closer. We're Central Time. Okay, so I'm smack dab right in the middle of the U.S., just outside of St. Louis, and I'm sure it's different than the East Coast and different than the West Coast, but it's still an overlining thing. It's a theme. You can't just go for the West and East. You're supposed to be, comics are supposed to be for the whole United States, the whole world.
Okay? That's what they keep saying. Comics are for everybody.
Yeah. Well, so, I don't, RJ and I talked about this, Michael, last time I was on.
I missed that. I was kind of busy.
Yeah. And I said, I don't know where the industry is going to be going. I don't see, personally, on my opinion, just from where I'm at, I'm not seeing much of a future left for the comic book industry as far as the new stuff goes.
Growth.
Manga is the number one selling thing for me. Trade paperbacks are come in at a close second. And if you look at the reports coming out, that's what's selling right now is manga and trade paperbacks, because you could just get the whole story. No one is trying to fill in those little voids. There are a handful of people who are trying to fill in, I need issue 2 or whatever. But, the collectability market for new comics, there is none anymore. There used to be, a couple of years ago, there was, especially during COVID, people were trying to get their hands on stuff. Case in point, we all remember Batman, what was it, 191? That came out a couple of years ago that everybody wanted because they had punchline in it. Yeah. And had that other character, and I don't. So remember how
she's just gone gangbusters, hasn't she?
Yeah. It's just crazy. So, there's, if you think about it, when was the last hot issue? That was the Batman. And that was what, 3 years ago?
Yeah. So, totally disconnected fans.
Yeah. I get them by accident, which is the best way. I mean, I've got some Batman cover that Jock drew the cover for. Mm-hmm. And every time I see a listing for it, I'm like, why was it so? And it's just that face of the Joker that's made up by all the different flying bats.
Yeah. Yeah. And now go look at it on eBay and look at it in Key Collector, and it isn't worth more than the price of the cover.
Okay.
Well, they've all dropped down, because remember, all of that was driven by the prospectors. Well, now there's nothing really coming out that the prospectors can drive. In fact, I think the last thing that we heard was on Free Comic Book Day, there was that Spider-Man 2 that is a cover that's related to the Spider-Man game that's coming out.
Of a character, Wolf.
Yeah. And it had some new character in it. Well, hell, we couldn't even get it. So I don't even know how you ended up getting it. I think you had to order X amount of free comic books.
Well, you order one and it give you 10. They were going to automatically increase your orders.
Yeah, it was a ginormous number of comics you had to carry just to get that one. Our phone was ringing off all day.
Hardly anything at all. Maybe I got lucky there because I just ordered that one and just a couple others because I don't have a store anymore. So obviously I'm not doing Free Comic Book Day like I used to. But every now and then I'll speculate because I know sometimes they'll have key characters in those things. But yeah, I was able to get it for some reason. That's
wow.
Weird.
Yeah, because it wasn't even offered to us, and when we looked into it, I heard that what you had to get order wise was, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to order that many free comic books. No one realizes it's free to them on Free Comic Book Day, but it costs us to buy that in. Sure, we get a discounted rate, but when you're buying, 100 to 200 copies in order to be eligible to get such and such, that's some money.
And then
it adds up.
I mean, if you're getting anything from Diamond, their shipping is so high, it's going to eat up any potential you have. You're just looking to break into a Diamond.
Yeah, we've moved so much. So now Dark Horse is completely with Penguin Random House now. So a catalog, Diamond, which would usually take me a couple of days to place my monthly order, now I can get through it in half a day because there's just nothing there anymore.
Yeah.
And you know what? They did it to themselves.
Yeah. Well, you talk about that Diamond Previews catalog. I've checked my freight because those bail you the next week. The freight on that is more than the markup for those books. I mean, we lose money on every copy we sell. I mean,
so people don't understand when they come in here and they'll see let's say I've got a Last Ronin action figure, okay, of the turtle, and it's by NECA, and I've got $45.99 on it. Well, I have to because I have to not only what my cost is, but then it costs for shipping, and I still have to have my profit margin in there. And people go, well, let's go look somewhere else. Sorry, but good luck finding it cheaper, because that's a going rate. Because when I do this, I'm not only am I looking at what I'm being charged from Diamond and shipping, but I also see what the going rate is on eBay for these, what Amazon might be selling, and then I have to somehow find a happy medium where I don't lose my ass on that product.
Well, that's the thing. You can't lose money. You're not in business to lose money.
No.
And people want you to lose money because, I want a deal. Well, if you want to keep a store around, you got to let them make a profit.
Yeah.
I had a guy come in, and he was a good regular customer for many years. He goes, look, I want an extra 10% discount over what everybody else gets, or I'm going to start doing mail order. Well, people don't realize how much work you have to do to service their account. And I was like, look, I'm not going to, have a sliding scale where certain people get a deal and other people don't. I mean, I just can't do that. And
we do a flat
business, but I have to treat everybody the same.
Yeah. I mean, our military discount, we used to do 10% off. And after looking around and seeing what other people are doing, and they're not even doing that anymore, we dropped it to 5%. And I'm still doing better than what other shops only do 3%.
I don't
so it's just crazy.
Military guys coming in anymore because they just so alienated them on the industry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm close enough to Scott Air Force Base. I still get a handful, and they're my regulars that have come in. But look, they understood. They're like, hey, no, one guy won't even take a military discount. He goes, no, that's not what we're about, and but if you walk in your outfit, your uniform, I say, thanks for your service, and we will offer, we will give you guys a 5% discount for shopping with us. But you've got to watch your discounts too. That's the key. So free comic book day, we did a small discount as opposed to a store-wide discount. And so I honed in on magazines, novels, trade paperbacks, and I just did a across the board 15% off. So, and we didn't do as much last year, but we did better because my discounts were lower than last year. And see, so my profit margin was actually better this year.
Yeah. But people forget how you have to pay for those books. You have to pay the shipping. Because, if especially if it comes from Diamonds, coming in its own box, it's probably going to be more on shipping than what the actual item costs.
Right.
And, there's just nothing left for us sometimes. And
there isn't.
And then you also, because we're having to pay for every single one of those books, or it's cost us money that we give away. And so you have to put a limit on it. You can't just let people come in and grab one of everything.
No, we said it was really simple. I said, you get one comic free, and then for every $10 you spend, you get another one. So, the more you buy, the more free comics they'll give you, and some people would like blast me on that. And I know some people like gave away like 5 free, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just not, I can't do that, And
when we had when Hastings was still around, and people would come in dogging on my store because I'd put a limit how many people could have.
Yeah.
And, they could go to both stores and still do the limit at each store, but they just thought that was unreasonable. But then they'd be bragging about Hastings. Goes, oh, Hastings, they let you grab all you want. Of course, you got to get there in the first 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm giving away books all day.
Yeah.
Away many multiples of what they gave away. They just did one time, grab what you want. Okay, it's gone. We're done. They gave it no effort and didn't give away a fraction of what I gave away. And people are standing in my store dogging me. Well, the way I got rid of that crowd, though, was because, again, you were talking about how you had to buy minimums. And used to, you had to buy every single gold sponsor to be, titled to be on their list on the Free Comic Book Day website. And, so I would always be on there. Well, then they started making you, because originally all the gold was supposed to always be all ages. Well, then they started doing adults only comics. I'm zoned where it was illegal for me to even have them on the premises. And one year I bought some just to be listed. And then next year I said, I'm not doing it again. I said, guys, if you're going to force me to buy X-rated, I just won't be on the website. And we're like, all right, well, it's going to hurt you. Well, all of a sudden we had the best free comic book ever, because that negative crowd didn't follow the Free Comic Book Day listing into my store. We didn't see those losers. And we had our customers in here, regular people, and they were saying these weird things like, thank you, I appreciate it. All that negativity was gone. And all my employees are like, please don't ever list on the Free Comic Book Day website again.
Yeah. And Michael,
like Halloween.
What's funny,
when trick or treat night comes around, you have more kids in your neighborhood from and they're not from your area of town.
Yeah.
So
well, what's really funny and you brought that up, Michael, is last year I got a call from Diamond saying, hey, up this, you get to the tier, you'll be on our website. This year, I didn't get one phone call from Diamond because I ordered a lot less than what I normally do. No, Diamond didn't call me saying, hey, you want to up that order to get on the listing? I mean, totally checked out. They have checked out as a company. So, and it doesn't surprise me. They've lost so much, I mean, I'm predicting that within 3 years, if the industry stays going, we won't see much of a Diamond distribution anymore. Because everybody's jumping ship,
Yeah.
Yeah, but back
exactly. What do they have?
You know, I had people getting angry at me that I just wouldn't let them grab whatever they wanted. People actually thought they'd just grab anything in the store. Give me your most expensive book for free. Like, it doesn't work that way, pal.
Yeah.
And I actually had.
Well, then you always get that one. You get that one that comes in once a year for free comic book day, and that's it. And they don't buy anything else. They just, you know,
exactly. And they're the obnoxious one. And I had people had a police report filed on me that I was not giving away enough free comics. And I actually had an investigator come in, and I was trying to explain to him, look, I got to pay for these books. And he started yelling. He goes, no, I know they're free because I read about it on their website. I said, look at their frequently asked questions. Way down about item 13, in real tiny print, they say, we pay a nominal fee. Well, let me tell you, buddy, when you're talking about thousands, that nominal fee is not so nominal. And you know, he kept coming in my store like he just like knew I was up to something. And then all of a sudden one day I get a call like at 3 o'clock in the morning. My window's been busted out. I go down there and the alarm's going off. They need me to shut off the sirens. And somebody just busted out the window. They were doing it all up and down the street. And the first person walking out of there was that investigator, the guy who investigated me on the free comic book day, not giving away enough. And then I never saw him again after that. I guess he had a chance to look around, saw I didn't have huge stacks of free comics that I was hoarding, and that he was done. He gave up on me.
The nerve of some people, I tell you what.
Oh,
you know. So
well, I tell you, I did. When I looked at the new comics stack on your when I walked in the store, I noticed there was a dearth of new DC. I didn't realize they hadn't been shipping you anything.
Yeah,
and you know they say it's 12 weeks is what it takes to break a habit. You go 8 weeks without a title, you're only 4 weeks away from nobody caring anymore about those titles.
I don't care. Ask me if I care. I don't care anymore because I've been so disappointed with Lunar as a company. If that's who I have to buy DC through, I'd rather not even carry DC then, because Lunar is one of the worst companies. I hope they're watching. And if not, I hope somebody who's watching us tells them, come at me, because I am so pissed off at them as a company because they just don't care about the little guy. I mean, come on, they're a comic book company anyway. They're not really even a distributor. Aren't they Mile High Comic, or I forget who they were or are. But
I don't know who Lunar is. I know that the other one, when the two came out, when it first started, one of them was a New York comic company. I can't remember their name either, because there was that whole discussion of, hey, are they holding the best of the best for their stores and then distributing
that's
the rest
Lunar.
of it?
So yeah, that's still Lunar. And guys, I'm still having to fight them left and right on how their payments are going and everything. And you know, next to Diamond, Lunar, in fact, right now, Lunar is at the top of my list as the shittiest company out there. And then Diamond, no, Lunar, EE Distribution, and then Diamond. And then the only one I like is Penguin, because it's free shipping and their payment terms are easy to deal with. So,
I've had good service with Lunar myself. There's so I haven't had any problems with them. So knock on wood, so luck doesn't go bad on me there.
Right.
The Penguin, I love Penguin. I mean,
I do too.
The free shipping, the service has been good. You have a problem, they take care of it right away. And
I get my
it took
books.
them 1 week to figure out what they were doing.
Yeah. And actually, when I started getting them, they were right on it the first time. So I had somehow in the pantheon of the ladder made it, when I got my shipment, they had already figured out all their fuck ups. So, so it was perfect for me. And it has been ever since. I love the way they ship. I love the way they pack. I love the fact that I can go in there, not only order my comics, but I can get my books, my trade paperbacks, everything, novels, you name it. So,
well, the other issue you were telling me, Dave, was that back when you were getting the books, they still weren't moving because there wasn't any story in there. There
still isn't any stories in any of these. Like I said, that's why I don't care if we carry DC, because the stories have always, well, not always, but the stories, DC's never been a great story-driven comic book company in the first place. Let's face it, we all remember the old Batman and Robins and Supermans and so on. We got really good when John Byrne got in there and started working with Superman. Some good stuff in the 80s, 90s was all kind of hiccups for everybody. And now we're into what they're doing today, and it's just geared. Once again, they're not listening to what the customer wants. If we want reality, we can turn on any kind of TV show or news and see the reality. When we're reading comic books, it's escapism. It's supposed to be escapism. We're not supposed to be reminded about the real world we live in. Sure, some of these stories are based off of some things that might have happened in the real world.
Yeah.
But come on, it's escapism.
You can deal with issues, but don't beat us over the head with your political views. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's political. Everything is geared politically. And look, Marvel is equally to blame in this as well. They just hide it a little bit better than DC does. So, and I think that, like I said, with the printing business the way it is, I see where both DC and Marvel want to just push us toward digital, and not only and I totally feel it. I mean, you could see it from the decline of sales. I don't know how mail order's doing, Michael, but I'm sure if you've compared year to year, are you seeing a little decline in mail order, or are you still seeing it?
My mail order, I kept my core of my good customers. Yeah, and they've been solid on me. So they've been steady, and it's just been a matter of Marvel and DC making content for them. DC is really lacking for my DC customers. Marvel's doing fine right now. They're getting a good volume of stuff out. DC, the stuff that sells are the ongoing series, but they keep stopping stuff, doing miniseries. And like you guys were both talking earlier about how you stopped doing something for a while and you broke the habit.
Yeah, and I have broken the habit.
And they do all these fillers. You're going to lose people. They're not all going to wait around and come back later. And, I'm a perfect example of it. I had read every issue of X-Men from Giant Size #1, 94 on up, and up until they did the Age of Apocalypse, where they stopped everything for a year. I'm like, this is going to be a filler year. After a year, they'll bring it back. I'm just going to skip the filler, and I'll start back up when they start back with the regular titles again.
Yeah.
I never found my way back in.
Yeah, we've cut just about every Batman title out. We're carrying the core Batman.
That's all DC
comic. Yeah. And then same with X-Men. We're only doing X-Men. We're not doing and we're doing Uncanny, and that's it. I'm not bringing in any more of this stupid side stories. Same with Spider-Man. It is Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man. There you have it. There you are.
Yeah, all these two titles are on Sigil, City something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying them. Nobody's doing it.
No, White Knight did well for the first probably 10 issues, and then it's winged to being nothing. No one cares. And that's the thing too. When I'm getting my customers who have pull lists and then they're dropping titles because the story just sucks. Hello, that tells you a lot.
Yeah.
And if your core pull list guys don't like it, well, I'm going to listen to them, and that's pretty truthful right there. If they're not digging it,
they're not using older writers. People who know how to tell a good story.
Yeah,
they're trying to hire new kids because they want that new direction, the new idea. But guess what? All those guys are doing is just rehashing stuff they read that they liked, and the core reader
putting their twist on it.
We're like, I've only read about 7 different iterations of that same story. I know what you're going to do before it happens. I'm out. I don't care. Don't tell me the same story again.
Yeah.
Show me.
The old guys are going independent. You got Mike Baron and Pat Broderick are teaming up now. I mean, Pat. Everyone knows Mike Baron and Pat Broderick, the guy who did Fury of Firestorm for so many years. They're doing Bronze Star now for Allegiance. I believe is doing that. But they're all going indie. And for me as a reader, there's 2 DCs right now. There's all the DC that everyone's talking about, and there's everything Jeff Johns writes. And the stuff that Jeff Johns writes is the stuff that I'm actually reading because it actually entertains me. Stargirl and the Lost Children, loved everything in that. Justice Society, can't wait for more of that and for the spinoffs that are coming out of it. That's the stuff I would read. John's saying, that,
and I go back and forth with Jeff. Yeah, and John there, he's a good friend of mine, he's right. Green Lantern, just kind of got panned and fell flat. So, and I love Green Lantern. So,
especially the Hal Jordan one.
And I go back and forth with Jeff Johns. I like his writing a lot, but I hate I'm a little upset with him on his politics, not politically. But what he did with the whole DC universe, what he did with the actor who played Cyborg, all of that.
Yeah. I heard about all that stuff.
Yeah, I got pretty upset with Jeff for not taking the actor's, side. It doesn't matter now because we've lost the whole.
We've lost the entire DCEU.
Yeah, it's gone.
I just finished watching Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and God, that was a train wreck.
And it's sad because, and I'm wearing my Shazam shirt. I liked the movie because it was fun and it was good to revisit those characters again. But the story, I just was like smack on my head, going, "What are you doing with this stupid story when you've got?" You already got set up for, bringing Sylvina back,
they ended with Dr. Savannah and Mr. Mind. I'm like, oh my God, that's classic.
Yeah, you should have done that anyway after the first one. And then you should have brought in Superman or Black Adam. And instead it went to shit. And I just sat there and I went, as I'm watching the movie, I go, well, yeah, this is over. Because you could tell by watching the movie, it was over for it already.
And you see Amanda Waller at the end recruiting him into the Justice Society, a la like the whole Nick Fury recruiting the Avengers. That was a copy.
And I did like Black Adam. I enjoyed it for the Justice Society, and I didn't think the Rock did a bad job at all.
I thought it was a good movie. It's well done.
I just wanted to see more, and we're never going to get that because what's his head is already destroying the DC universe, which has always been destroyed anyway. For a brief moment we had Snyder doing something right, but so
we're gonna get to see the Flash next month, and that's gonna be the total end of the DC.
That'll be it will cut it all. So, but you know what? Marvel's not doing much better. The crap that they've been putting out has been horrible.
They tried to put out a series on Echo. A character, they have a character named Echo. Who knows who Echo is?
Yeah, exactly. They're this phase, whatever phase they're in, 4 or 5 or whatever. They're doing characters that are throwaway characters, have been throwaway characters. We all know the Marvels is just going to be a disaster when that comes out. Ant-Man in Quantumania or whatever the hell, that thing was so head scratching to me, and no matter how many times I would rewind it to say, I just was like, wow, what a clusterfuck for a movie.
And they're not going to get to use Kang for the rest of that phase now because the actor is going to be probably in jail or something.
Yeah. Well, and no offense to Kang is not really a great character. I never was a huge fan of Kang. So he was cool, but to me, he was just the same as everything else we've seen. So I was just like, I just didn't understand Ant-Man in Quantumania. I was like, it would have been nice if they would have done some of it there and then come back up into Earth itself, come out of it. But they didn't. The whole damn movie was in Quantumania land. And I was just like, I didn't want to be there as a viewer.
Yeah.
I didn't care. So, because I didn't understand it that much. And I remember the comic and everything. I didn't care for it much then either. And I love Ant-Man, one of my favorites. But, I just see too much of Marvel dialing it in now because they don't know where to go. You killed off your core. You killed
they shot all their events. I mean, everything that they did was like leading up to the big event thing, just like they've done with the comics. You've got about 1,000 issues at least of Captain America in different iterations.
Yeah.
Just pick an issue and say, can we make a 2-hour movie out of this story?
Yeah. Why does it have to follow this timeline? They screwed the timeline up anyway. And let's look. What was it? Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't know where the numbers are at right now, but I know it hasn't. It hasn't done at nearly as good as the first two have. And wonder why. So, and and you're bringing Warlock in. Hello, what are you doing? Bringing him in now, a day late and $1 short on that one.
Well, they brought him in at the end of 1, didn't they? And
end of 2,
and you never saw him again.
And then you never saw. And I'm like, does anybody remember the real Thanos storyline? The Infinity Gauntlet. Hello. So
that's where Adam Warlock was supposed to come in and save the day.
Exactly,
and he didn't.
And
Captain Marvel had to do it.
Yeah. So it just, I don't know, man. And she didn't do it either. So, and then I don't know if you guys have heard this news, because I know we're already almost 8 o'clock.
Talk all you want.
Did you guys hear? Yeah. Did you hear the new thing by Marvel? What they're doing?
What's that?
Yeah, you're going to love this, guys. I got this today. Foil variant pricing program.
Oh, I have heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to love this one. None of us are going to like this.
No discount.
So here, yeah, please be aware that Marvel's new foil variant cover program will bear different, shorter discounts than normal due to the significant higher manufacturing costs for all foil covers. Please be sure to review and make note of the below pricing and discount updates. A foil variant of $3.99 and $4.99 suggested retail price. Foil variant cover books will be sold at suggested retail price without any discount. So that means Michael and I don't get any discount on that foil. We buy it at full price and we sell it at full price.
And we pay shipping.
You buy it at $3.99 and you sell it at $3.99?
Yeah. So we actually lose money because we have to pay shipping on that too. Yeah.
That's insane.
Then $5.99 and greater SRP foil variant covers will be sold with a discount of 16%. So we get 16% off of anything $5.99 and greater.
You don't need to pay your bills. You're just a hobby anyway. Yeah, that's what they look
I'm
at.
like, and it's guys, it's 2 pages of this, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Look,
you don't care anymore about anything.
Do this already, and that's what they're going to end up having all of you do, and that is you get that foil variant with $3.99, and you're going to immediately put it in a bag and a board and put a price sticker $6.99 on the front of that thing.
Oh, some will do that. I
know some that are doing that. But
here's the thing: I'm not going to carry these foil variants. You want it, you buy it up front, you pay me for it, and I'll order it for you. Because, like Michael said, even at 16%, our markup is crap on it.
Yeah. They did something similar once, and where they said, okay, we're going to have all these foil variants, and this is Marvel again. But to qualify to be able to order these variants, now they offered you a discount, but to qualify to be able to order them, you had to order a multiple. Like, okay, if you sold 100 copies of X-Men, you had to order 200 or maybe 300 copies of the regular cover to then be eligible to order even more covers.
Yeah,
I didn't order one. And I ended up buying them at like regular discount from people who got stuck on them because they said, well, I'm going to qualify. I'm going to get a whole bunch because everybody's going to want them. Nobody wanted them. I managed to get a few to take care of my customers by taking some off the hands of guys who were just choking on those things. They put so many stores out of business with that gimmick. It was unbelievable.
And that's what they're trying to do again. Like I've been saying since the beginning of this, they don't care about us anymore. They don't care about all they're going to care about is the big box stores. They're going to care about digital, but as a collector, they no longer care about the collector, and they don't care about the little mom and pop comic book stores. So what we're going to do is you're going to get phone calls off the hook going, do you have this foil variant? Because what are they doing? They're creating demand again. And I'm going to go, no. Well, why don't you? Because you didn't special order it. I didn't know I have to special order it. Well, I'm not going to take a bath on something. Okay.
We're not business.
Yeah.
And Michael, didn't you say once you had a customer wanted a special foil that you had to order so many things for? And the response was, and he took you up on it, if you buy all the books that are necessary to get the special,
Yes.
Cover prize. Yeah.
I do the same thing. When I got a guy, he wants the 1 in 25s and the 1 in 50s of Power Rangers. I'm like, okay, you have to buy all the ones that I have, except for maybe a handful I'll keep for the store. And I will give you a discounted rate, but you're still going to pay the normal markup, just a slight discount if you do that.
Yeah.
And I don't even do that anymore because because you have a problem with customers. And Michael, I'm sure you've had this in the past when you had your store.
Oh yeah.
You have that customer who doesn't come in on a regular basis to whittle his box down, which now has been put into 3 boxes and growing because you keep getting those in for him. And next thing you know, it's a year and a half later, and they've put very little dent, or they just come in and do $30 at a time. I'm like, no, you got to come in and do like 100 or so at a time. It's not my fault you won't go get a job. Your pocketbook, your appetite's bigger than your pocketbook was.
Yeah, I had a guy call me up one time. Yeah, I haven't been in for a year. I just want to come in and get the ones that went up in value. And I said, dude, I gave up on you a long time ago. You got all upset. And I was like, I don't care. Just forget it.
Yeah.
But yeah, people will drive
it's
you
crazy, guys.
They don't hesitate to put their problems into your problems.
No, you know what? And I cut them back. It's simple. You want that, you put half down now. Or forget
that's the great thing about going over the mail order. Everything's sold. I don't have anything where I'm waiting for somebody to come in. I've got the credit card on file. I charge them a month. All of a sudden, they don't charge doesn't go through. Okay, I know I'm getting, and I have had to cut off a few people, and sure enough, it's like, oh, I lost my job. I just forgot to tell you to not keep ordering all those books for me. People, they never think about us. It's okay to burn the little guy, and we're the guys.
They don't realize that it comes out of our pocket first. Yeah, and when you're sitting there and you're not touching it, or you're just doing a little at a time, and it takes you 6 years to a year to get through a box or two, our profit margin goes down. Now granted, on our comic books, our profit margin stays the same, but when you're talking about a toy, that profit margin goes down.
Oh yeah. People would always criticize me because I wouldn't carry things like Funko Pop. Funko Pops have awful discounts. I mean, if you have to buy them like in case of servants, if you don't sell one, you're not making any profit because one was the only profit you had. Like, why would I carry all this dead stock? And I was watching all these stores go out of business with the pandemic hit. Every one of them choked with Funko Pops because they don't sell.
I'm with you on that. I have a basement full where I used to buy them by the case, trying to anticipate what was going to be hot.
Yeah.
Now I'll get 2 or 3. That's it. And 3 is even pushing it. And they'll go, well, it was here last week. Yeah, I told you should have got it because I only get onesies or twosies now.
And because he's got the cool Mount Funko right there in the front of the store, and it's you've got characters that you've got the ones that are like doing cool stuff. Now, I always looked at Funko Pops like this is the stupidest thing in the world. It's just the same doll over and over with a different paint job. And when I really thought it was stupid, when they were doing different Bill Murray characters from different movies, I'm like, seriously, or characters that you never even heard of, side characters from Wakanda Forever. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Having said that, I have some Funko Pops. I have 2. I have classic Batgirl, and Dave's got some Funko Pops under the counter that are signed by voice actors who did the cartoon character of the character. You used to have that Melinda Britt Batgirl. That I kept
and I sold that. Yep, and then I've got 2 of the kids from the Shazam movie. That signed the Pops, and then I keep my chases in there, but it's the thing with, I love music. And in fact, I'm sitting in our back room music store at the shop. So I love getting in the music Pops because I love music, but they don't sell in my neck of the woods. So I'm like, I'm not carrying music Pops anymore. I'm sitting on a
finally bought one of it was a box of little Pops.
Yeah,
and it was the recreation of the Justice League cover with the Starro battle. I was like, okay, now that's cool. Make more of those, and I might buy stuff.
Right,
but I don't want to buy the guy from Stripes. Nobody watched Stripes in 40 years now.
Yeah, and or I'm still sitting on the Ghostbuster Pops, and we're gonna do a big blowout sale just so I can try to get rid of them. And I'm sure you guys heard about the infamous dumpster with thousands and thousands of Pops that Funko threw away that was sent in a dumpster. Oh yeah, that's a Google that picture. You're just like, okay, so you're padding the numbers is what you're doing now.
Because we heard they were going to put 3 million of them in a bury them next to the ETs, I guess, the ET cartridges.
So it's just and I think that what I'm seeing now is that Funko is starting to, like I said, they're starting to implode, and I'm starting to see that now. Anime Funkos is straight where my money comes from. I do great on those, but certain ones, man. Here's the thing. Let's take Stranger Things. Okay, Stranger Things season 4 ended last year. The Funko Pops are just now coming out for season 4.
Oh, wow!
So, talk about a terrible. And I'm like, wait a minute, you knew we're on season 4, so it's not like rocket science here. That seasons 1, 2, and 3 did well, so you think you would have been on top of this. You're a big company, but then who did they were bought by somebody, and I forget who Funko was just bought by. So
into it.
Yeah, and there's some. I'm sure that was a hiccup there, but still, it shouldn't have been. The acquisition,
and like I said, it's the same flipping doll. You're just painting it different.
Yeah, and so I now shake my head, and I'm really. And then when it takes you, when it takes you 3 years to come out with the Lilo and Stitch glitter pop, okay, 3 years, and it's just now, and it still hasn't been released yet. And I canceled that order. I'm like, you know what? I don't care anymore now. 3 years later, the boat sailed on that damn thing. So
yeah,
I'm moving on.
Now,
so
you have Godzilla pops, right?
Of course I do. And there you go. So they're doing this Blacklight Pops series. They're really cool. I had an Elvira Blacklight Pop. I've got the Frankenstein Blacklight Pop with the little Daisy, which I love. I've got the Chucky Blacklight Pop and Michael Myers Halloween Blacklight Pop. And then I got in 2 cases of the Godzilla Blacklight Pop. Ask me how many have sold.
Oh, come on. So you're a Godzilla mecca in that store.
Yes,
more Godzilla
I am.
in there than any other store in the Midwest.
Yeah. And I thought that this would be so hot. And I have bought 2 cases. So out of that 12, I think I have sold 3. And I've had these now for 4 months now or so. So, you know,
it's like there used to be sports action figures, but you have to buy them by the case.
Yeah.
Well, Jared McFadden, Arkansas guy, is like, well, hey, this one figure I could probably sell a case of.
Yeah.
I still had, when I closed the store, I think I still had one from that case left. Yeah. That was the one where my profit margin was.
Well, and when you're working with a company like EE Entertainment, they make you buy it per case. I'm sorry, I don't need 6 of this pop or 6 of this action figure or 12, because sometimes the minimum is a case of 12. And what they'll do though is ship it to you in 2 cases of 6 each. I'm like, no, wait a minute. How come you couldn't have split that then?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting on.
McFarlane was making those Matrix figures.
Yeah.
The second Matrix one, they had such a bad mix buying the case that you didn't even get one of all the figures.
Yeah. And you can't.
A whole bunch of Neos.
Yeah.
And,
I'm sitting on a case of Neos now from the new Matrix film, thinking that was going to be hot.
Ooh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So the other thing about pops now is they've got these variations that just take up so much footprint in your store. They're these, and I've seen it's the same size pop, but 95% of the people don't take the pop out of the box.
Yeah. So now, like, you have the record pop, like Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. The pop is still small, but then it has the record behind it, and then I'm sitting on a bunch of those. I have the Jurassic Park one where it's got the Velociraptor and it has the Jurassic Park, and it's it's big. I can't even give it to somebody.
Yeah.
Because once again, guys, we're jumping on this thinking, okay, this will be hot because of the movie, but Target and Wally Mart and whoever else is carrying it, that are bigger.
That's what their cost.
Yeah. And so then you end up. So what are we going to do? We're going to end up putting it on Whatnot and try to recoup something. But am I going to get what the full price is? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'll take my loss and go, and hopefully I make $10 off of it.
Yeah, brick and mortar, it's so adversarial. I mean, it's like everybody you do business with, they're like your worst enemy. Like, okay, we're going to give you the most unrealistic, most adversarial terms. Like, hey, you want to sell these new Marvel comics? Got a holograph? Guess what? You got to pay full price, no discount.
Yeah, yeah. This really took the cake today. This one, I think, is the straw that broke my back. When they did this, I'm like, you know what? If they want to play this game, they can play it with somebody else. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall for this crap with Marvel. They, just like DC, can go float a boat. Because
email me that.
That last time they did that, I was like, I started reading. I didn't even ever get to the part about how they were holographic covers. I just like, you want me to do what? Well, I just didn't even finish it out. I turned my whole order in, and then all of a sudden I started hearing everybody complaining about how hard it was to get those holograms. I was like, what holograms? And then I read the rest of it. Like, oh, that's what it was they were trying to say. I was like, those terms just, why just, I'd rather stay in business. I can't do terms like that. And that's why I didn't even mess with them. And it didn't hurt me. I came out fine.
We have a question from the audience.
RJ, there's a really good question. Yeah. I was just going to point him out. So
Now, it depends on what you mean by
trying to read it real
franchising.
quick.
When I think franchise, I think it's a chain. And of course, Dave, you're operating in an area where there is actually a chain of comic stores.
I have a company here that's a mile away from me, on the east of me, and it's Fantasy Books. Now he doesn't, but franchising means, let's say I sell you guys a franchise of Cosmic Comics, and you, like McDonald's did in the day, if you guys remember that great movie with Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
Founder. Excellent. One of my favorite films. Great movie if you want to learn about business back in the day. So that would be franchising. Me opening up another location is still under me doing that. So, but a franchise would be if you guys paid me a franchise fee to open up a Cosmic Comics, or, Michael had, I paid Michael to open up one of his stores or whatever. That's what we mean by franchising fees. So do I think that would work, JR? He's taking Coles and Smith's bookstores. No.
But see, bookstores are closing down right and left too.
Yeah, bookstores. There's only still one left, and that's
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. Well, and isn't there still Books A Million?
There's still a Books A Million too. Yeah.
So, but they're far and few in between.
Yeah, I was a chain of two in two different cities, and so that gave me a perspective on it. And I did have a chain that came after me. I thought they were going to wipe me out and take it over. The Hastings. And Hastings, I was in the middle of Hastings land. And I actually, at one time, when they started carrying and getting big into comics, I had every Hastings manager within a 50-mile radius of my store calling me up, wanting me to come teach them how to retail comics. And so there was one girl who had a sexy voice. I actually talked to her for a minute or two. I wasn't going to do it. But then there was one guy who was just so arrogant, and he was the Little Rock location. He goes, "Hey, I was driving by your store the other day, and I saw a lot of cars out front, and I was thinking those cars should be in front of my store. So why don't you come on?" I was like, "Dude, what kind of pitch is that? I mean, either you're an idiot or you think I'm an idiot, or both." But one thing I did consider about it, and the reason that the Hastings failed is, the reason they lasted for a while, they were getting very favorable terms. They were getting returnability. So they were having all these special books made, and they got to send back all the unsold copies. Finally, when Marvel pulled the deal, they had to operate on the same terms as you and I. They were out of business in like 3 months, just wiped them out instantly. I mean, they couldn't compete.
I went into Hastings during the last months of its life. Last month of the life of Hastings in Conway, Arkansas. I went in there, and Hastings used to be a bookstore and a music store. It was just like Barnes and Noble. You had all that stuff there. And I did some book signings in Hastings when they were in their heyday. When I went in this time, it was like there were no books, there were no comics. It was like the collectible section of Barnes and Noble, where you see the Lego kits and all that other stuff, spread out over the footprint of the store.
Oh, wow.
That was all there was the vintage T-shirt kind of thing, bunch of different plastic figures, plastic lunch boxes, that kind of thing. That was it.
So to answer JR really directly, if he's still watching us, is, and I'm sure Michael will agree with me on this after the whole Hastings thing. Hastings, when that happened, Michael, that was because the industry was a lot different. Today, the industry cannot handle this anymore. Okay. The industry does not dictate that you could franchise this business anymore. I think that that window's closed. That ship has sailed. So franchising it, no, because we already have a small enough footprint as it is. Mom and pop stores are closing. Michael, you just said, one that's closing up here soon in your neck of the woods. I hate to hear that. I know we're struggling, and so we're hanging on by the hair of our chinny chin chin. People are like, "Well, you survived COVID." No, we survived the COVID.
Yeah,
whatever.
You're still in long COVID.
Yeah, but we're now feeling the after effects economically of what COVID has created. So, and whether this industry is going to bounce back, like I said, I don't think the industry wants the industry led by the big guys don't want to bounce back. They could care less because, like I said, they're not even run by themselves anymore. They're run by corporate America.
I can see why JR had the question, because he's right. Franchises do have the massive advantages in getting pricing, like Walmart. You don't get nearly the same discount. So
No.
yeah, if you were an Elon Musk kind of character with more money
if
than
I
you
had
could count
money,
in a comic fandom, go around and buy up all the shops, keep the management, and say, okay, send in your orders to me, and then I'm going to go through Diamond and say, yeah, give us 6 million copies of this book, and then we'll distribute down the chain.
And here's the thing too, JR, is if you're going to franchise, that means you need to franchise far enough away. The last thing you want to do is franchise and have some guy open it, 10 miles away from your shop. Okay, which the one shop that I talk about where he has multiple locations, he's got one a mile away from me, but he also has one that's maybe 5 or 10 miles away too. So he's actually kind of shooting himself because he's in his own backyard almost.
Yeah,
there's no problem getting all the free comic book day books on Free Comic Book Day in the Metro East, because you'll go to Cosmic, you'll go to Fantasy, you'll go to Twilight, you'll go to the other Fantasy. You'll get them all.
Well, you'll get them all. But and the franchise, yes, it has advantages, but you're also talking about a mom and pop. Okay. So in order for me to be able to franchise out, I would want that person to open up one in Indiana or wherever he is. I don't want him to open it up 10 miles from me, because if that's the case, I'll just open up another one myself, which I would not be stupid enough to do because the industry isn't strong enough to even support that. Okay. And that, JR, is the true answer to your question. The industry, as it stands, could not support that kind of a business plan anymore.
Well, the whole franchise model won't work because this is something I found just from having my 2 stores in 2 different cities, only separated by a river, but it was completely different clientele. It's completely different market taste. And with franchise, you can't have one guy say, okay, we're going to sell 3 copies of Archie in every store. We're going to sell 10 copies of X-Men in every store. Every store is going to have a completely different demographic, and you've got to have an individual manager for each location who knows what they're doing, and that's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's just like I said when we started tonight, right, guys? I said it could be different in the West Coast sales-wise than it is for me, or different sales-wise in Florida than it is in St. Louis, Midwest. So yeah, it would be impossible. You're going to have somebody who's going to know that industry from their point of view in that state.
Now, back when
Dave, you were looking at that once, you were seriously checking out places in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I was looking in Nevada and in Arizona, and Sue and I still have a plan to move to Arizona here in a couple of years. If we can sell this location, we will. If we can't, then I would hate to say it, but we would pack it up and move it. And to tell you the truth, I don't know that I would open up another one right now because the industry is so effing rocky.
Closing my mortar stores, my mail order. I've gotten all rid of all those overheads. But another thing too about the franchise that you were talking about how you got advantages having so many stores. Actually, now this is going back before the environment we have now, because things have changed since Diamond no longer has a monopoly. But back then, the way it was with Diamond, okay, if I qualified for a book to get the variants at one store, I had to also qualify at the other store,
and you still do
at either one.
You still do. Diamond still holds your feet to the fire like that.
Yeah,
you have to open up separate accounts for each flipping store.
I did, yeah. And but the whole thing, if one of my other stores didn't qualify, then my store that did qualify didn't get it. So I mean, it's adversarial.
Yeah. It's just I feel like we're a dog chasing our tail right now in this industry.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't suggest anybody to get into it right now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mike, this is a special edition. We couldn't get Friday to fit in on the schedule, so we pushed it to Saturday. It's a one-off. We'll be back on every other Friday after this.
Yeah, Mike, that was my fault. I lost my microphone and headphone set.
So we waited for him to find it.
Yeah, so luckily my wife knew exactly where it was, because I was like ripping up this store, my antique store. I'm like, why did I take it home? Well, in my infinite wisdom, I took it home, and that was a stupid idea. So,
and of course, as we talked about the publishers trying to pander to small slices. Yes, Archie Comics did release Jinx: A Cursed Life today, and I believe the character of Danny, who was introduced way back in Dilton's Strange Science, is no longer the girl she was, but is now the trans girl that she is.
Well, yeah, and it's part of their Archie horror series. And Yeah, that was one of the free comic book day issues. So
yeah, well, Cursed Library was the free comic book day. And
yeah,
then,
that was it, which is also part of the Archie horror. So
yeah,
you're right. They're pandering to that. But let's also talk about the fact that Archie really is a niche cult following for that.
Archie used to be really good for kids. I mean, it was kids comics, and now they've gotten away. When you leave your demographic behind and you don't have another demographic, now you're just trying to scattershot effect.
Yeah, you are.
And they wonder why their sales are so bad.
I mean, when they had the TV show, there was a nice little uptick of kids who wanted to read Archie because of the TV show that was on CW.
Oh, Riverdale's still on. It's in its last season. But...
Is it really? Okay. Well, yeah. See, I didn't even know that.
I'll tell you one of the strangest demographics I ever saw was when My Little Pony. Man, that book hit the gates. I mean, it was outrunning.
It did.
Good laughs. And I had all these grown men in their 40s driving from all over the state, coming to my store all at the same time to buy the latest issue of My Little Pony. Now, here's the crazy thing about it, though, is the audience was either 40-year-old men, grown women didn't have an interest, or it was these teenage girls or teenage boys had no interest. And my first question was like, wait a minute, these guys aren't predators, are this isn't like, hard lemonade or something, is it? And, so I was a little bit concerned until I figured out that bronies was a real thing. I guess there was a show back in the 80s that young boys liked, and now they were kind of reliving it when they came back.
Not only that, so I just sold a My Little Pony today because I still carry some of My Little Pony. Now we've cut back because I haven't sold in a while. And I personally think the artwork in My Little Pony is phenomenal artwork. The coloring, the panels are wonderful. Now, if you ever read a My Little Pony comic book, you got to read between the lines. There's some crazy ass shit going on in those. That's why you've got that demographic, because the older crowd are reading between the lines and seeing the story within the story. And the younger kids are liking it because of the splash and the color and the fact that, maybe their mom grew up with the toys and now it's been passed down to them when they were little kids and so on.
That was always the hallmark of good storytelling, when it was two stories, depending on who the reader was.
Exactly. So really, My Little Pony can be very dirty, very filthy if you read between the lines. Yeah.
And it's always fun when Dr. Hooves shows up.
Yeah. The strange demographics. Older, middle-aged guys and little girls. I mean,
exactly.
What's going on here?
But it's going to be sad to see. And my last thing I'll say is, RJ, I know you and I talked about this last time. I feel bad for the independent comic book people out there because it's getting harder and harder to get people even. I was very big on carrying independent comics, and have even carried some of your stuff that you were hawking. And
not
for a
really
while,
mine, but yeah, I get it.
No, I know, but you still were hawking it for the people, helping them out. And I'm all for that. And I really wish that the industry could sustain it, but I don't even see the industry sustaining.
Well, here's the thing about these independent guys. They're seeing the Kickstarters and the Indiegogos, and here's a crowdfunding element. And I know it's a small press run, small print run, so your price is higher. Most comics have a tier that's $25 plus shipping to get your 48-page comic. There's a group out called the ICBCA, the Independent Comic Book Creators of America. They're trying to step in and be diamond for the indie crowd. And, they're going to have a previews magazine. They're going to get it into the hands of retailers who sign up for it. But it's a monthly subscription on the part of the creators to have it. And part of what, their deal was, they're like, hey, the books have to be offered at 55% discount to the retailers, 55% off the retail price to the stores. And people hit the roof like, why would I do that? That's cutting into my profit margin. I'm like, and that's why I was asking you the other day. Hey, and I asked Fergal, who's not here tonight. I asked him the same question and got the same answers from both of you, 55% to 40% at the lowest. If you guys want to get into stores, you're going to have to compete at that level.
You have to
and be prepared to eat that cost. So
because even some of the books that I got from you that I did pretty well in that first round. I had to mark some of those up to $20, $24, just so I could make my money back and some profit. And when I'm not getting a discount, and you're hawking this stuff for them and I'm not getting a discount, I'm like, okay, we're getting to the point where we're at a point of no return. I can't move it, and I want to help these independent people. But, if I have to market to a point where it's almost a novel price, like a hardback novel price, it's tough to do that. And then yeah. I mean, come on, Mike,
part of our cost.
Yeah.
We're going to pay, utilities, rent, employees, taxes.
Yeah. And Sue and I talked about this too. We're all old enough to remember the 15-cent and 20-cent and 25-cent comics, still 25 cents. Okay, who the hell told these guys to start printing on heavy paper and in full flipping color instead of using the old 3-color process? I didn't tell them to do it. You guys didn't tell them.
Is when all of a sudden you had the computer coloring. You can't do letterpress, because letterpress is simple screens, 4-color, and the percentages like that to create your mixed colors. And so to go with the computer coloring, they went to offset printing, which just opened up a whole world of stuff. But you needed better paper, had to go to a different printer and a whole different technology, and the cost just skyrocketed. Right,
it skyrocketed. And now minimum is $3.99, and now we're seeing we know what we just said here with the foil variant crap, and go back. I'm like, stop it. Go back to the old ways. But then again, you're going to have to find a printing press that even does the old style anymore. No one does that.
All digital. Gone up in Sparta.
Yeah.
They closed down. That's all they did were comics. And gone now.
And we hear about printing companies going out of business left and right.
It's tough.
So, So I tell you what, guys, I'd like to go on for another hour, but we got to watch John Wick 4 tonight.
Yeah, it's a moral imperative. I agree.
Yeah. Well, we watched Dungeons and Dragons last night, and that was really fun. So, if you guys, and then
Mike's book is out.
Go ahead.
I'll give you the big screen here. Tell us what you got. Oh. He's going to go to the kitchen first. Okay.
Look here. There we go.
Because you were just at Howard Days last time we were on, to celebrate Conan.
Yeah, and I was kind of do a pre-release of my Robert E. Howard art chronology. I have the 4 books, as I've showed out here before, and we're still waiting for the slipcases to show. So it hasn't actually been released yet. But what has been released is my Skydance of Winterfire. And the cover picture will, the one that doesn't have the cover will be on the inside, and just kind of flips the images between the 2 different books. And it's something that that I wrote and illustrated myself. Let me grab a different one here. This will probably flip it. That one was perfect bound with a square spine. This one I can open up and show you a little bit better. One thing is not conducive is flipping pages in reverse.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah.
But that's some nice design work in there. The way you got the graphics going around the picture.
Yeah, and really put a lot of work.
Michael, is that strictly through you, or do you have that through Penguin and stuff like that?
It is sold out. They made one printing of it. Now if there's a demand on it, I'll print some more.
Okay.
And, but right now, I've just got like maybe a half a dozen copies of each edition left that I'll probably try to sell on eBay or something like that. But yeah, it's not available through Amazon or anything like that. This was just a Kickstarter exclusive, and it's shipped now. Everybody has their copies, and so once they're gone, they are gone too, unless we do another printing. But if we do another printing, here's that cover on the inside of this one, and there. But
Howard Days, Woody, that was the Robert E. Howard Days in his
hometown.
Yeah.
Then on the inside,
and
I have an article talking about how the publishing industry's changed over the years, and my ride with it there, and different.
Michael, I'll shoot you an email. I got a little idea I think could help us both out, all of us.
So these are available now. I have a few that I'll be selling, but it's sold out, already gone there. So hopefully, maybe we'll make more.
Congratulations.
You've got each other's emails, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I don't, I'll shoot it to you, RJ, and you can get it to me, and vice versa. But yeah,
and email me that thing on the Chrome covers. I want to read that and comment on that outside of here. So guys,
right. 2 weeks from now, yes.
Coming on.
Yep.
We'll do this again. Hopefully sometime soon. Not another 2 weeks.
Yep. Glad to be back, guys. I love this. I like this setup. I just like talking about the industry. I do, because every 2 weeks, and Michael knows this, and so do you, RJ, it changes. I mean, we're getting curveballs left and right now, almost on an every other day basis. It's just
I always said you have to
crazy.
keep roller skates on to keep up with the changes.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yep.
It's hard. So good.
Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. We don't have a show without you guys.
Thanks for the questions, everybody.
We'll
come back and see us. Sounds good. 2 and 2.